Greetings and salutations. Carrying on with the film reviews on one I didn't think I would be doing, Iron Man 3. When I first saw the trailers I thought, this was going to be a mess. We have the Mandarin, we have Stark experimenting with extremists. Turns out it wasn't really extremists, but rather a variant of it. I have heard some mixed reviews on it, or rather mixed feelings, and this is the black sheep of the Iron Man trilogy. Basic setup: Stark is having anxiety attacks, worries about the future, he cannot sleep after the events of the Avengers movie. He wants to keep Pepper safe, in fact he's obsessing over it. And the mere thought of the events of New York, of his armour not working, is enough to shut him down, and enough for anxiety to take over. The War Machine is still in the hands of James Rhodey and the army, only now has been repainted and repurposed as the Iron Patriot. And honestly, the paint scheme and the name's goofy, which pretty much sums up this entire film. It's silly, and was still unlike the other two that played with some degree of subtlety to it, especially the first one. The second one's subtlety was basically lost with the involvement of S.H.I.E.L.D. Subtlety in growth, in development of how Stark progressed through the films and how the story progressed, but not this one. This one basically dropped and came out running. Stark is having trouble coping with the events after the Avengers film. And then the Mandarin has appeared. And before that we get a little brief event coming back to 2009 before Stark's epiphany that led towards the creation of Iron Man. In that he was talking to someone who created AIM. And for anyone who knows the Marvel Universe, they know who AIM is. AIM is the organization of evil who look like evil beekeepers. They use technology first and foremost for the plots and schemes. Hell, I even read one particular Deadpool comic where he's teamed up with substitute heroes to attack AIM because they got a hold of a Greek god Barbus, I think it was. Still, AIM. If you didn't like the change that went into Justin Hammer in Iron Man 2, you certainly won't like what happened to AIM. As I said before, the film's silly, it lacks tact, lacks subtlety, and this is why. As with the title says, this is going to be spoiler heavy because I'm going to spoil the bloody snot out of this film. The Mandarin is a front. The guy is really an actor by the name of Trevor, who basically hams up his scenes in a very Jack Sparrow sort of manner. He didn't think he was doing anything bad, he was just all an acting gig to him. And we learn there's really AIM behind these terrorist bombings who are out to do a purpose. And this is basically to take control. And this is where a problem comes in yet again. Iron Man 1, Obadiah Stane was out to remove Tony Stark, becoming the main bad guy because of what he was going to do to the company, and because he wanted the company for himself. He felt he deserved the company, that he raised Tony after his old man died. It was his company, he felt, and that's why he did what he did. Iron Man 2, we had Justin Hammer out to prove that he was the better engineer and weapons developer. And we had Whiplash, who was out for revenge for what he felt was the injustice towards his father, that the Starks had using stolen technology from his father to proclaim his fame and his technology. So what is the guy behind AIM doing it for? World domination, that's it. He's doing it just because he can. And do you know what the silliness is? He's creating super soldiers through genetic engineering. And it is enhanced regeneration, enhanced everything for the soldiers except for intelligence. They can regrow lost limbs, they can superheat their bodies, where you can actually see them glowing, see the bones through the flesh, where they can even get through Iron Man's armour. And the problem is with it, there's a flaw in the whole extremist program, which this is. Stark was working on something that would allow him to remotely summon his armour, mainly the Mark 43, I think it was, just with a thought. Basically a continuation of the extremist project which we got introduced to in the beginning. But the problem with the extremists that AIM was using, if their agents get too hot, they go boom. The film ends with an all-out chaotic battle between extremist agents and what should have been really a surprise, but the trailers gave away in that Stark created a whole army of of suits, Iron Man suits. As I said, the latest version of his armour, which he's trying to use for mental control, is Mark 34. Before then, we have countless others that was hidden away, which he then summoned and had his computer controlled to attack the extremist agents. Honestly, we didn't really see much going on. It was very chaotic, very messy. As I said, silly. And for most of the film, Stark is without his armour. He is attacked at home when he issued a challenge to the Mandarin, which led to this attack. He is stuck with the Mark 43, which was not made combat ready at the time. And because of this, he ends up in some other area, and he's walking by a panicking. I forgot the name of the computer, but you can hear it. He's actually panicking, afraid that Stark was dead or in bad condition. And he meets this kid who is very talky, and basically he scolds Stark. He's gone for his anxiety attack, and this kid talks him through it. You're an engineer, make something. And something else that doesn't feel quite right in this film. Previously, Pepper Potts, despite dealing with Stark, was always in a degree of control. She was not someone mucking around. She was cleaning up his mistakes and then was given control in Iron Man 2. And Iron Man 3, I thought for most of it, she was reduced to the damsel in distress, being used as a pawn and all that lot. Up until the very end, where she gains control of extremists. And after that, after the end battle, Stark wipes out every last suit of armour, seeks to get Pepper cured of the extremists, and then comes the question of why did he do this before, back in the day? In Iron Man 1, he had the shrapnel removed that was threatening his heart. He could have had that removed any time, but he didn't. This was basically felt like the beginning, middle and end of Iron Man. And we know there's another Avengers film coming. So what's Stark going to do now? He's wiped the slate clean. He no longer needs the arc reactor in his chest. He no longer has the Iron Man armor. Yeah, at the end he says, I am still Iron Man. So what's he going to do? It felt a mess. It was silly. It lacked subtlety. But guess what? Just for those who enjoy the film out there, I still think it's more enjoyable than The Dark Knight Rises. So, yes, that's my rambling review of Iron Man 3. Enjoyable if you like that sort of thing, but ultimately, it is the black sheep of the trilogy. Peace out, people.